I'm well, mate. I'm well.
Yeah.
How's yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Just tweak this a little bit just so we can see me.
Okay.
Can you see me there? I'm a little bit lower now. Yeah, excellent.
But
Connection good?
what if we don't? What if we don't want to see you? We want to see the steaks.
Yeah, so are the steaks in or not? There we go. Look at that.
There you go. There you go. No worries. No worries. Yeah, no. It's much better if we do get a bit of a look at you, and then you hold up the steak every now and then. I think Jack's just joined as well, so if he's in there.
I don't know where. I can't see his request at the moment, so hopefully we'll get him on board shortly.
Okay.
I can. Oh, there is that. 1 second. Yeah, I'll just accept him in there.
We've got a lot of questions for you.
You've got some what? Sorry.
We have a lot of questions for you.
There we go.
Good. Well, I'm ready and waiting. There's Jack. Jack too.
How you doing, Henry? You all right, mate?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, very well. Just got one of your amazing steaks on the grill, so looking forward to tasting that later.
Excellent. All got to you safe and sound.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I was saying to Hillary in the pre-show, the packaging is top notch. So they arrived ice cold, amazingly packaged. Yeah, really impressed.
Brilliant. Well, the packaging is massive nowadays, and we have to get that right from the start. It's all biodegradable, all that sort of thing. The ice packs can be reused as well. For other things. So we're pleased with how all that's gone. We've only been trading sort of 6 months, so it's sort of one of those things that we've nailed straight away. If you get me.
Awesome.
Okay,
really
so give us a little. So give us a little bit of a history about the dry aged steak company, and also yourself, mate. I hear you're a 5th generation butcher. Correct.
Yeah. Well, there's not a lot of history for the dry aged steak company at the moment, with us being only 6 months old, 6 months trading. But there's a lot of history in my family. Like you mentioned, 5th generation butcher. We have the Lavracks. That's our surname, and we are butchers over here in East Yorkshire. We have 3 sites, 2 butcher shops, a delicatessen, and then one of the shops is a butcher's and deli, which I'm standing in now, which is in Poppington, East Yorkshire, where we do all of our dry aging. We set this shop up three years ago, and it's just gone from strength to strength. One of the main things that we did when we set this shop up was bring the dry aging of the meat into the shop, and it's just gone from strength to strength. And hence why this year, as we always are, we're looking at building the business in different forms, and we thought we're feeding East Yorkshire with great steak. Why not feed the UK with great steak? And especially like on a subscription service where people can try different cuts each month, aged to different lengths of time, and it's delivered right to your door. So that was the sort of fundamental sort of reasons for doing what we've done, really.
Okay. Maybe just tilt your camera up a little bit, mate, just so we can see your face a little bit. Okay, sorry, yeah.
1 second.
Yeah.
1 second.
Oh, look at that shop. Look at that. There we go.
Yeah, there's your dry aging cabinet.
That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see.
There we go.
Even better. Wow. That's fantastic, mate. So you're in East Yorkshire. What's the name of the place in East Yorkshire where you got your live shop?
So it's A. Laverick and Son Butchers, which we're, like I say, we operate in over 2 sites for the butchers and vice versa for the delicatessen shop. We a traditional family business. There's me, my 2 sisters, my mum and dad, still all working in the business, and we all have our own different roles. And it all, couldn't operate without all of us, really. And we're all very proud of what we've got, and the produce that we produce, especially the Yorkshire produce. It's a big thing. Good things come from up north, and we're really successful, and long may it continue, really.
Wow. And then so your meat then. Tell us a little bit about your meat then. If you say you're from Yorkshire, is your meat from Yorkshire, or do you source it from around the country? How does that work?
Yeah, we're lucky to have really good contacts with wholesalers. For our shops, we buy off the hoof, so we buy live in all the markets. Okay. But for the dry aged steak company, because I'm literally just selling the primals, I don't need the whole animal. So I've got really good contacts with a wholesaler over in Leeds, which is in the capital of Yorkshire, and we source all of our stuff from him, and he buys out of all the. Again, he's got traditional values. He buys out of all of Yorkshire livestock markets, you know, it's all good produce. It's not. I'll be honest. It's not really, you know, all of this, you know, breeding and everything like that, and fed on grass. It's just good, you know, top quality stuff. There's nothing special. There's no story to tell behind it. The proof's in the pudding, in the actual steak, really.
Okay. I mean, we do have a couple of questions coming up about the particular steak that you've sent out now, but
Yeah.
is there any particular breed of cow that's specific to Yorkshire, or is it depending farm to farm?
No, nothing really, but we tend to go with a lot of Limousin crosses, Belgian blues and things like that, that seem to get, that, you know, really for your butchers, the yield out of those is, you know, your kill percentage of what you get from live weight to dead weight is probably stronger than something like a Dexter, so, you know, or something like a Wagyu. You know, they're good, strong cattle, and you get the full, you know, the full rounded, you know, shebang from it. You get good roasting joints, you get good steaks, you get good amounts of trim to make mince and stew and everything like that. So those sort of, you know, those sort of cattle.
Yeah.
So you can get good, you know, get good cover on it. And I mean, great steaks always taste with a, you know, good bit of fat, a good bit of bark, I call it, and you know, that, you know, helps protect it as well during the dry aging process. If you put something in the dry aging cabinet that, you know, doesn't have that sort of protection, it can go very sticky quite quickly, and won't mature in the way that it would like to. What we're aiming for all the time is that nice hard exterior, that hard crust, that's locking in all that flavour. And once you take that back, then you know, you've got yourself a really good piece of meat.
That's interesting. Well, Jack, we had a couple of questions on the fat, didn't we? We saw the cut, the wing rib / COTE de BOEUF that came through. We had some questions on the fat there, Jack.
Yeah, someone was asking about the colour, because obviously it's quite yellow in colour. So someone was saying, does that mean it's grass fed?
It won't 100% mean it's just solely been fed on grass. I think, like, you know, don't get me wrong, this time of year farmers will let the cattle go out and graze if they've got the land for that to happen, because it's just general maintenance for them as well at the same time. But I mean, 9 times out of 10, you know, it's not probably 100% grass fed. I'm not saying it hasn't been fed on grass, but you are right. When you see that little bit more yellow of fat, that does tend to be the case. And you know, that might be the case with that particular steak, that animal has been, you know, had predominantly a bit more grass fed.
So it could be a bit sort of breed specific as well, that colour, but you know, there's a lot of variables involved here to get to that colour, I'd say, is there?
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's now, you know, there's all these guys that go around these farms and mix the feed specific to what the farmer wants and what the farmer is trying to achieve out the animal. So, you know, there's these guys that go around for all these different types of companies, mixing and blending different types of, whether it's hops and things like that they're feeding the animal, to get it to where the farmer wants that grade to be. So I mean, yeah, there's lots of different ways of means to get to that point.
Okay.
I mean, straight off the bat with your steak though, when it came out the bag, good layer of fat, nice rich red colour, good visible marbling, firm as well, which is, I think, is always a good indication of a good steak, because sometimes if they're all loose and falling apart, that's not great. So yeah, on the face of it, this is going to be an amazing eat. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah,
I think with the dry aging process, it helps the enzymes break down within the muscle of the meat, you know, creating a more tender piece of meat. I think sometimes if you butcher something straight, you know, let's just say a day, 2 days after it's been killed, that meat is going to be, I know what Jack's talking about when it's a little bit sloppy, it's a little bit, it's not firm, it doesn't hold its shape. How you maybe want it to hold its shape.
Yeah, it's like if something's wet aged, you can tell between a wet age and a dry aged piece of beef straight away.
Yeah, I mean, with wet aging, there's nothing wrong with wet aging. I think wet aging is probably the most efficient way of doing something. But that meat is then sealed in a vacuum bag with all of its juices. And, you know, even when you take it out of that bag, you still got to let it hang just to dry off a little bit. With these, you know, literally, once you take that crust off, you are ready to cut an unbelievable steak, and it's going to hold its shape. Either whether it's in traveling within you, if you're buying it through the shop or through the dry aged steak company, and it's going to hold cooking. And you know, I always say with the dry aged steaks, they probably take a little bit less cooking than something that's been wet aged, because they're just, that moisture's not there anymore. You know, it's they just cook that a little bit quicker, so sometimes can just catch you out a little bit if you have got maybe, you know, your bog standard 10-ounce sirloin, and you think, oh, I'll give it 4 minutes either side to get myself a, you know, nice medium rare with the 4 minutes resting. All of a sudden you're like, bloody hell, this is medium, you know, and you've overdone it. So it's it can catch you out every now and again.
Henry, can you eat the trim? You know, you talk about the dry aging process. I've had people tell me on social media that they like eating the trim that comes off the aged beef.
I mean, it's only a little bit like, I suppose you could go down the route that it's a bit like beef jerky at the end of the day. It's dried out, it's hard, it's chewy. I have done it once, never again.
I was going to say,
So,
each their own, but not.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is very similar process to that, I suppose. We use all of our trim that comes out the middle of the bones and everything, and we scrape all that hard exterior till there's like nothing left. Sorry, that's just my fridge. 1 second.
I was going to check the chimichurri.
It does go off. It's just on a defrost. The counters are on a defrost after the weekend, and it's just emptying out all the water, so it's a pump. So I do apologise for that.
No worries, no worries.
So yeah, what I was saying, we scrape everything, and use all the trim, and we make some really unbelievable dry aged steak burgers. And utilize it that way. We make a real nice 5-ounce deep burger with a little bit more fat than normal, and they're excellent.
Nice. Okay, so well, I think we're going to have to try the burgers, Jack. You know, like that they sound pretty sensational. I can see Rob here, low carb. He's waving the dry aged steak flag here too. You know, saying that this is good stuff.
Yeah, I think you're friends of yours, aren't they? Rob and Kevin Edge, is that right?
Yeah. I don't go as far as friends. I'm not really sure.
Well, those guys helped me on my sort of journey into getting into this sort of thing, and really sort of appreciate all the help that they gave me right at the start to sort of, you know, bridge into this sort of market of doing these sort of things with you guys. And you know, that I did send some burgers to them, and they tried the burgers, and I think they enjoyed them. So yeah. Yeah,
no, definitely. Joking aside, they're really good guys. So, and they singing and dancing about your beef as well. So, a couple of other quick questions then. So we've got the COTE de BOEUF here, right? So tell us a little bit about the COTE de BOEUF and how the wing rib, tomahawk, ribeye, and rib of beef. How does it all sort of fit together there?
Well, yeah, I mean, as time's gone on and people, you know, just like you guys now, you know, there's a big community out there that know the stuff about steak, and especially with the Americans and putting twists on. Everybody put twists on things. 10 years ago, you would never have known about flat iron, or 15 years ago. I mean, for us, it's just stewing meat, but everybody seems to go crazy about it for a steak. And I think, you know, there is a bit of confusion about where everything comes from on the animal. I mean, I've got 2 pieces of meat in front of me here. I've got the T-bone end of the sirloin, so you can see there, you can clearly see that that's obviously your T-bone end, and we turn it round as you fill it down one side, and the sirloin side down the other. Okay. And then if we go off this back end here, if we come off this half here, we've then got the wing end of the sirloin. So can you see the little end piece of fillet there, where the fillet ends? And we move down, and then we're going in to what we call the wing rib, and then we're going into our rib of beef off there as well. So it just keeps carrying on, and we're going to our rib of beef where you get your ribeye, your tomahawk, and everything like that. So sort of, I always class these sort of these last two ribs, and then maybe the first one off here as sort of like your Cote de BOEUF wing rib type steaks. I mean, the French called it the Cote de BOEUF years ago and made it a bit of a thing. So I would take that edge off first, and if you can see there's the first rib. I'll come straight down this first rib here, and then I'll come straight down there, and we've got two nice Cote de BOEUF steaks off there. Like I say, I would maybe go one this way with the ribs that we've already cut off at 4 ribs at the other end. So that's sort of where it comes from, off that main sort of drag of the back end of that main drag of the sirloin. So you have sort of got that little bit of the marbling that you sort of receive within a ribeye more than a sirloin, if that makes sense. And that nice sort of at that last little bit of that outer muscle that you get on that ribeye is just within that sort of Cote de BOEUF. And I mean, for me, you know, those tomahawks and everything, steak is, I always feel, is better shared with friends, family, and everything like that. And with a steak like a tomahawk or a Cote de BOEUF or a big porterhouse or something off the T-bone, and you know, and slicing it all up, and everybody just diving in and nibbling a little bit with loads of salt on it. There's nothing better, really.
Nice.
I agree. Yeah, the bigger the better, because it's a little bit less forgiving as well. A big steak. I mean, if you overcook a thin steak, that's it. Like, there's nothing much you can do. But a big steak, if you've overshot it a little bit, plenty of rest, and slice it nice and thin, you can hide a multitude of sins. But yeah, that's interesting. You say about the.
I think when you say that again, sorry.
I think it's interesting you say about the different cuts, because it's all. And I was saying to Hills at the beginning of the episode, a Cote de BOEUF, in my mind, I had it as a tomahawk just with a shorter bone, but that's just a little bit different, isn't it, to what you've told us?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it does go. I don't think, you know, it does go into that rib, most definitely, but I try and sneak them off this end so that we get more out of that sirloin, and sneaking them off. I mean, it's a few little butcher's tricks probably, but I mean, because I would probably rather sell my ribs as cut them longer to do the tomahawks, maybe bone them out to do the ribeyes, dress them up to sell as roasting joints, and go from there. So it's sort of maybe a few tricks of the trade to try and get as much as you possibly can out of that one animal, really.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, as a butcher, then you know a few good cuts here. You know the fillet. You know the ribeye. You know the sirloin. What's your favourite cut, and in particular your favourite cut for grilling on the barbecue, mate?
Again, on the barbecue, I think like I sort of agree with what Jack said. Is if you start with it, like if you've got a big steak and you're cooking for either 2 of you or 4 of you or whatever. A bigger steak on the barbecue is a lot easier to cook, because, like I just said, it's more forgiving. So I would always go with something big, like either like a porterhouse steak, which is just your T-bone, but your ratio of your fillet is the same size as your sirloin. Your T-bone, when you class a T-bone, your fillet is a smaller ratio to your sirloin, if that makes sense, in sort of like weightage. And so I'll go something like that. Cote de BOEUF is excellent. I did a Cote de BOEUF a couple of months back, which you know, thoroughly really enjoyed, because I can just slice it all up, smash it up, Hasselback potatoes, something like that, just to everyone get the forks and be pulling something out. But in the shops, especially, what we're seeing is everybody wants the tomahawk. that's what.
Yeah. But you're rubbing your hands together, like, yeah, charging for the bone, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I love steak. I mean, I worked before I came back into the business. I worked in hospitality and I managed a steak restaurant, and that's where I sort of, even though I came from a butchering background, that's where I found my like real love of steak. And then when I came back in, I had a lot of knowledge of selling steak cooked, if that makes sense. And I had to get that knowledge of selling steak raw, and steak has just sort of been is a fundamental part of my diet weekly. Similarly for all of our family, we all just love cooking different steak all the time and trying something different. and seeing what's out there. Because if we don't, you know, you just get left behind. Especially in this trade, there's a lot of people now, you know, with some really good stuff out there. There's lots of competition, especially now that I'm venturing out into this sort of UK market with the dry aged steak company and going on the subscription service. There's lots of other people out there that will do like the good meat, the big meat boxes and things like that. What I find with us is that the fact is we will send you something different every single month that you won't have tried before, and that's the sort of beauty of it all. So yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that. How much are we talking per month? What sort of size steak do you get?
So the general duo subscription, which is for sort of like to create the perfect date night, which is 2 steaks per month, but something like the COTE de BOEUF is classed as 2 steaks, if that makes sense, because it is a share of steak. So we retail that out at £40 a month, where you're able to obviously get loads of different things each month within your box. We've teamed up with different Yorkshire companies to add value to our boxes, putting things in there, free merchandise. We've found really people love the aprons, the caps. They want all that sort of stuff. They want the merch, and it's sort of a really good sort of way of raising brand awareness. Really, we have obviously been trading for 6 months, as I've mentioned, so we are looking at changing things up over the next sort of month or so. We've listened to our feedback, we've listened to what people have said, and you know, we are launching an online shop as well as a subscription service as well. So there's lots of stuff to come, really.
Nice. Okay, well, just quickly before we forget, because I forgot a little bit earlier, we had a winner for the competition, and so they won one of the lovely COTE de BOEUF. Yeah. And I've just posted it on screen there. It's Hant's Barbecue, Hants Barbecue. So I'm guessing they're from Hampshire. I assume so, but
yeah,
it could be someone called Hans.
Well,
they are in the UK.
So if Hans want to get in touch with us at Dry Age Steak Company, we will sort them out and get them their COTE de BOEUF sent out either next week or whenever they require it. Really.
Lovely.
No worries. We'll put them in touch, okay?
Jimmy Sherry's ready. Look at that.
Yeah, brilliant.
Oh, how's your steak looking though, Jack?
And I'm serving that with. Let's have it. Let me bring you in closer. Move closer. Well, really low, 110, 120. We're just loads of salt, just rendering down that fat cap.
Oh, I think I can smell it already, Jack.
Yeah, that looks amazing. So do you find that that's the best way to do it, Jack? Like just doing it slow first and then searing it, like almost like, do you call that like a reverse sear?
Yeah, I mean, big pieces of steak like this. I mean, this is what, probably a kilo, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah,
and, I just find, yeah, it's a nice way of doing it, because you're just slowly bringing that beef like up to temperature. Whereas if you're searing it too hot, sometimes you can really overdo the outside and it can be black and the inside will still be raw. And
yeah,
I like all the technology when it comes to barbecue. So I'm a big fan of like the wireless thermometers and all that. But sometimes I don't want a big thermometer in my steak. I just want to do it naturally. I find this is the safest way to do it. So yeah, we'll keep it on there for a little bit and maybe increase the temperature towards the end of the cook if there's some hungry faces and it's not quite ready. But yeah, nice and slow, and then sear it. And I was saying to Hills, normally I don't salt my steaks before I put them on, but because this is a big piece, it's again quite forgiving. And if it needs a little bit extra, it can have a little bit extra. But normally I don't salt, don't pepper them, just cook them and then salt and pepper them afterwards.
Yeah, I just always salt them before, but I would never pepper it. But it's just different. I've seen it obviously over the Instagram, people doing it that way around. It's just something I've never actually tried myself, to be honest.
I think it's
I don't. Sorry, Jack?
I think it's easier to do it like this on a barbecue. You wouldn't necessarily do this in your house, I don't think.
Right, yeah.
So, for barbecue, I don't mind a little bit of salt beforehand, sort of flaky salt beforehand, or not too flaky, but not like the molten crusty bits, but, nice bit of salt beforehand. I do put a bit of pepper on, I do like a bit of spice on the sort of steak. I like a bit of tang to it, but it is an individual preference, I think. You know,
Mate,
that
there's no
people.
wrong or right way, is there, to do it? You just find your way. Like, there's no, you know, on social people on social media love to give their opinion, don't they? But you know, it's like arseholes. Everyone's got one. Don't mean yours is right.
Brilliant.
Okay, well, maybe we should sort of wrap that up then. Do you think, Henry? You got a little bit of a summary and a little few of the business?
No, I just want to thank you both for your time. Like, really appreciate, obviously, everything that you know, obviously you guys do over Instagram and everything for us. You know, a little bit of promotion to get us out there, and it's been a really good experience so far. And you know, I hope you enjoy the steak, Jack and Hillary. I think yours is at home waiting for you when you get back from sunny Italy, isn't it?
Yes. If I've got a guy looking after the house, he's my steakometer, right? And he loves steak, so hopefully it'll still be there when I get home, right?
Yeah. So look forward to seeing the end results, and really, like I said, really appreciate your time, guys.
No, honestly,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming on, mate. And basically, this is why we started the show. Like, Hillary and I started it during lockdown. We've met so many people that have basically changed their business model through lockdown, through, you know, the customer needs. So people now like are eating a lot more indoors, and obviously we're big on provenance, on, you know, ethically sourced meat, and people knowing where their meat comes from. So the fact that you know because you know the guys that buy it at market, you know, that's exactly what we want to champion on this program. So thanks for coming on, and thanks for the amazing beef.
No worries. Enjoy.
Thanks again, Henry, and have a great day, mate.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
And hit the little cross, and remember to save it.
Yeah.